How are you?
I'm amazing. Not that I'm fangirling or anything, but I'm just great. How are you?
Well, same here. I found out about you, I think, at the time when I'm sure you started getting attention from every way, shape, and form, everybody who's ever existed. When I saw your floor routine at, what competition was that at?
That was actually our first meet of the season. So it was a whole competition. Yeah, January. I want to say it was like January 20 something. It was the end of January. So it was our very first meet of the season. And honestly, I was not expecting to go viral at that time because it was the first meet of the season. Like, we had a lot of COVID scenarios that prohibited us from training the way that we normally do.
Yeah.
Like, we were so unprepared at the beginning of season. So I was like, I just hope I pull together a routine, like pull something out of my butt, like let's look at it, smile and wave.
Was there any expectation or like around your routine in general though, since it is so specific and something that we haven't seen ever in gymnastics before? Was there something about it that was very like buzzy and that was very talked about in the community where everybody's like, oh man, this is going to blow up? Or was that not even something that you were aware of?
No, it was definitely something. So the goal was not to go viral, but the goal was to bring more awareness to the Black community in the sport of gymnastics.
Yeah.
And especially because gymnastics is a predominantly white sport and there's not a lot of Black gymnasts. So I wanted to really inspire and lift up the Black community and let them know that they can be at the high levels and compete and be successful and be themselves at the highest levels. So that's my biggest goal, was just to inspire. But obviously, I'm so thankful for everything else that has come along with it, because this has just been amazing.
Yeah. Had your previous floor routines or any other routines had sort of a similar, had you had a similar approach, or was this like the first time that you'd explored a routine this way?
This was the first time that I explored it in this way, more of like a political stance. Normally I do a lot of things that are kind of tend to my personality and what I shine best at, like music styles, dance styles as well. And even my floor routine last year went viral for Beyonce. It was a Beyonce majorette routine, which is also Black culture, but a lot of people didn't really understand or realize. And I was kind of starting like bringing Black culture into the light of gymnastics my junior year of college, but it wasn't evident and it wasn't apparent. And so I wanted it to be a clear message, and I wanted it to be concise, clear.
I think you achieved exactly what you're going for.
Thank you so much.
I want to kind of get more into like next steps, what's next for you. But first I want to backtrack to kind of childhood and what that was like, what your family was like, where you grew up, all that fun stuff.
The tea. So you like tea. So I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I was born in Ohio. And I started gymnastics when I was 4 years old. So this has been the love of my life.
A little bean.
Yeah, literally my entire life I've been doing this. So
wow. Did you want to do it? Did you see like gymnastics on TV and you're like, that's me? Or what was the...
Okay, I'll tell you the story. So I tried a little bit of I tried piano. I vividly remember crying at every lesson. Tried ballet. Vividly remember crying every lesson. I'm a shy person in general, but I've definitely opened up a little bit. But as a kid, was so shy and was crying with so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And my parents said that I was on the playgrounds, flipping around on the monkey bars, doing a whole bunch of things unsafe, unsupervised. And we're like, okay, maybe we should get her some training. Maybe we should at least get a mat so that she can land safely on. So they took me to gymnastics practice and I didn't cry. I vividly remember not crying and actually having a blast. So it started with my parents kind of throwing me into it and me just falling in love from there. And at a young age, my coaches always told me that, like, you're so good. You need to do elite gymnastics. You need to try out for the Olympics. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can I actually make the Olympic team? Like, what? That's insane. So I started training those 40 hours a week. And I was homeschooled actually starting in 4th grade all the way till my junior year in high school. Was homeschooled for my entire life. I honestly hated it so much.
I was going to say, did you like it or hate it?
No, I hated it so much.
Okay,
I wanted some normal friends. And I honestly feel like so far behind in the classroom. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know vocabulary words. I don't know how to spell. Like, I need to catch up. But so I was homeschooled for a very long time. And so that's why a lot of my time was elite training, a lot of elite gymnastics. So 40-hour weeks, a lot of intense training, camps, going to national team camps in Houston, Texas every month, which were so, it was like intense times 100.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't even have the words for that right now. Like, it was just it's a lot of trauma that kind of comes back with camps and kind of the elite world in general. There was a lot in the elite USA gymnastics that was kind of brushed under the rug that a lot of people didn't talk about, but we were feeling and I felt and carried with me for a long time. But, I've healed over college and have learned so much. That's where most of my growth was in college. But I also moved to Chicago when I was about 14 years old for more training to also get closer to the Olympics. My new coaches in Chicago were all Olympians. So they all went to the Olympics. And so I was really excited and honored to be in the presence of, I'm like, oh my God, Olympians. Like, of course, I'm gonna do whatever you say. Like, how many rope climbs do you need me to do? 30? Okay, I'll do 30 rope climbs. You made it to the Olympics. I'm listening. So
that was after the camp.
Yes. So camps are every month. So once you kind of get invited to camp, you keep going until you stop elite gymnastics or you get uninvited, which rarely ever happens.
That's so brutal.
Yeah. So
they're like, no thanks.
Once I'm in there, like I was in there, so I was going every single month. And every month it progresses, camp progresses. It gets a little harder as you get closer to the season. So each camp is a little bit more intense or less, depending on the time frame. But when I was training in Chicago, that's kind of when I started to peak and it was coming closer to Olympic years. So I was like, yes, this is perfect. Everything's kind of falling into place. And then I tore my Achilles just 3 months before the Olympics. Devastated. Like I felt like everything that I sacrificed, my parents sacrificed, moving to Chicago, and like the same day was just all for nothing because I dedicated so much time. My parents gave up so much. My younger sister gave up a lot at a young age. She had to sacrifice so much for me. And I'm like, she's a baby. She should enjoy her childhood, And so I just really wanted to quit. I never wanted to do gymnastics ever again. I'm so glad I actually, because Olympics was the main goal. I had other gymnastics goals as well, such as coming to UCLA. This was always my dream school and competing for UCLA. But Olympics was the main goal, was the biggest accomplishment for me and like the main thing that I had my heart and eyes set on. And it was just so close. And the way the timing went that my Achilles tore right so close to the Olympics was just like even worse. I was like, this could have happened like a year ago or maybe right after, but literally right before. It was just.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like for everything to be so teed up, there have to be so many things in place to be where you were at and in line and ready to go. And then for that to happen at that timing, that's just like, that's a level of discouragement. And I mean, if I were experiencing that, I feel like I'd be so hopeless. Like, how did you overcome that? How long was that low for you? Like, what did you do? I'd be in the bedroom in my teddy jacket, just curled in a ball.
Curled up. I definitely wanted to stay in that low for a long time. It was at least a week of me just like completely depressed, did not want to even open the blinds. Like I just didn't want to talk to anybody either. But also kind of my coaches pushed me a little bit. They were like, we're still going to try for the Olympics. And I'm like, for what? Like, I need my foot. I was like, because you can make the Olympics for either one event or all 4 events. So at the time, I was kind of up for 3 events, vault, floor, and beam. Bars was like my weakest event, but I could do it. Like if they needed me, I could do it, but it was my weakest. So once I tore my Achilles, I couldn't do floor, vault, beam, anything else. So it was kind of like my opportunity, my place of where I was at, out the window. So my coaches are like, yeah, we're still going to try. And I'm like, literally for what? Like literally my bars is not what they wanted. They wanted my floor, my vault, my beam. And they're like, let's just try. You could really be an inspiration to others. And I was like, okay, let's just try. So I'm back in the gym a week later with my cast on. I have ankle weights on my other foot, swinging bars, trying to level up my legs so that, it would be even and I wouldn't like overwork one side. So it was like another little brutal time period of just grinding, trying. And I honestly felt like a little bit hopeless because it was like, why am I training this bar routine? But
yes, I so relate to that feeling of if there's not enough incentive moving forward toward a thing, if there's not like that promise or that hope, there's that feeling. I'll get that all the time with various projects where it's just like, well, what's the point? If you don't have enough validation, enough reinforcement, it's so hard to find that within yourself. Okay.
Yes. And especially when I wasn't even confident in myself because I knew, I already knew what I was good at. I knew my strengths and my weaknesses. So I felt like it was hopeless, for me to even be doing this, but truly was an inspiration to and I didn't even realize till after the competition. And so many girls were coming up to me just completely uttered and inspired by my comeback because I was back in 3 months, 3 months before. And then I was back in 3 months.
My God.
Competing and everything. And I landed on my foot 3 months post-surgery. And they told me, about 9 months to a year recovery. So it was like incredibly fast, incredibly rushed, but good. It did feel good to kind of push over that little hump, like definitely to get myself out of that low with the help of my coaches, with the help of my parents and my support system. Like I have a great support system. Honestly, that's probably what it was. It comes from yourself to dig yourself out of a hole, but having a good support system makes it so much easier and you don't feel like you're alone. So I didn't feel like I was alone, even though I was feeling alone, if that makes sense. I was feeling alone, but I knew I really was not alone. And I had a great support system kind of pushing me back into what they knew that I loved. And I just lost. I didn't even lose love for the sport. I just was we're going through a breakup. Okay. We're going through a break and then I'm right back. Okay. So that was definitely, sorry, I just lost my train of thought again.
No, I was curious, at what point did you start to feel a little more motivated? Like when did you get back that, some level of confidence and the ability to say, okay, I'm going to really commit to this?
Honestly, when I got my cast off, which was about 6 to 8 weeks after surgery, that's when I started feeling more like myself. And I was like, okay, things are actually possible now. I was like, my foot is free. I was like, I actually have equal balance on both sides of my body now. I was like, I know how to control myself. So I was like, okay, so that's when my motivation started to increase a little bit because I thought I could push myself a little bit more on the other events, on floor and vault, and kind of give myself a little bit more hope, but was a little unrealistic for sure 3 months after surgery. But that once I got my cast off was for sure when I started to feel like myself again. And I was like, okay, I'm back. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
I actually tore my Achilles just before my birthday, my 20th birthday, or not 20, sorry, 17th birthday. Don't know where I'm at in time right now.
Nobody does. It's such a weird, like Twilight Zone blur time thing now. Yeah.
For real. But yeah, so it was like right before my birthday, I was devastated. I was like, bro, I can't even turn up. I can't even go outside. My birthday. When I cast.
But you went out and started doing competitions again 3 months later?
Yeah, I did. So at that time, it was Olympic year, Rio Olympics. So it was kind of like the pre-step to Olympic trials. So there's like 3 competitions that you got to do, qualify to the next, to make it to the next. And so I tore my Achilles just before the first step. So I missed that one. And then I came back right in time for the second one. So I didn't make it to the next step, the third step, because I had only done one event and it was my weakest event. But everybody was just so proud of me and so inspired and just really was just congratulating me for the work that I did put in.
Was it difficult for you at all? Or was it at that point because did you still have your sights set on the Olympics? Or at that point, had you kind of put that aside and you were more focused on just recovering and, to your coach's point, being an inspiration to others? Were you able to fully switch gears, I guess, or not? I ask because it's very difficult for me to switch gears. Yeah. If I have my sight, like if I want one thing, I don't know how to like reframe and want something else. It's so difficult for me. So were you able to do that, or were you still just thinking, no baby, it's the Olympics?
Yeah. I mean, at that competition, I was there for the Olympics, to make the Olympic team, even though I kind of knew in the back of my mind, like I wasn't going to make it. The chances are really slim, but I'm here. I'm going to try. So I'm going to give it everything that I have, even if it is one event. So I was definitely fully in the moment and fully present for Olympic year. Around that time was when I really realized that I was not going to allow myself to let the rest of my dreams go down the drain. Because I didn't make my biggest dream, which was the Olympics, I had other dreams of competing for UCLA. Ever since I was a gymnast, honestly, since I've been a gymnast, I've always wanted to come here because of what they do, what we do. You see the environment, you see the energy, the happy, loving, everything I described to you earlier is what I wanted to be a part of. So I had to dig deep for real to come across that realization that I was not going to let the rest of my dreams go down the drain. And I had to start preparing. So I was like, oh my goodness, I need to go back to school. Like junior in high school, I was like, I got to go to school. I need to not be in the gym for 40 hours a week. And I need to learn how to socialize because I don't have social cues. I don't know how to talk to people. It's like, I don't know how to learn. So I need to start over again. And then around that time, so that fall, I had gone to public high school for the first time. And it was
first time.
Yeah. Huge adjustment.
What was it like? It's like, I mean, that's such a different social environment.
Girl.
Was it
from nobody to like thousands of people? I'm wow. Like, whoa. So like, I caught myself like staring too hard because I was like just so infatuated by everything that was going on in school. I was like, this is what high school's been like. And I missed it. Like I get 1 year only. But it was definitely an adjustment. Like in terms of like actually learning education, I was so far behind. Like I suspected. Being able to keep up in a classroom was something I had to adjust to and like learn because she was using words I didn't know. I was like, I don't even know what she's talking about. Like I need to learn. So I had to definitely get adjusted real quick because I couldn't fail my senior year of school. Like I'm trying to go to college now. So I had to adjust, be adaptable really fast, and was just still training gymnastics. So there's also a junior Olympic level, which is levels like 4 through 10. And that's basically, you do that your whole life. Like once you make it to level 10, there is no higher levels and you just keep doing level 10.
Okay.
Level 10 competition season. And I was a level 10 when I was 10 years old. So I got there pretty early. And then
that has to be so rare.
It was pretty rare. I was the only 10-year-old. All the level 10, level 10s are usually in high school and that you line up kind of with your grade a little bit. So I was like way far ahead. Okay. So I had dropped down to level JO gymnastics when I went back to school. So it was a great year for me. I had a great time. It was really easy. I actually was national champion that year. So I was like, period, we did that. Now we can move to college smooth. So yeah, and then that's how I got to school.
And then was that experience another kind of like learning curve? Was there an adjustment period or were you just immediately like, I've been missing out. This is the greatest thing I've ever.
Yeah. The JO experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely, I was missing out. There is more of a team aspect in the JO world, less than college, but more than elite. That made sense. So it was an adjustment for me in competing every single weekend. In JO, you have a competition every single weekend starting from January to about April-ish. And then in elite gymnastics, our season is in the summer. And you get a couple meets and you have camps every month, once a month, and then you have a couple meets that float around throughout the year. But the main season is in the summer, which is like June, July, August. Yeah.
How do you feel about sort of the future and what do you want out of your relationship with gymnastics in the future? I feel like it's hard to start out in something so seriously, so young.
Yeah.
And for that relationship to be as intense as it is, and for the commitment to be as intense as it is, it's just like, my experience with acting was quite overwhelming. And it was really, I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this. This was, for me, it was like my mom's dream and not mine. And kind of coming to terms with the fact that I wanted to quit something that had been so important to my mom for so long was not easy. And also something that I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in, whether or not I wanted my identity to be wrapped up in it, it was. And so I left at, I guess, 20, I think I was like 23. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like this huge, on the one hand, I felt relief by not doing the thing anymore that I didn't want to do. And that caused me, I know I'm quite shy as well. And I felt like really anxious doing it all the time. And like, it wasn't like a natural fit. But at the same time, I also felt kind of a gap and a loss of self. Like I didn't really know how to find that identity in other places because so much of my identity had been in that. Very long-winded, but I am curious kind of what that looks like for you and what you want out of your relationship with it.
Yeah, I relate 100%. You know, I feel like gymnastics has completely defined me in my life. And, you know, for a short period of time, you know, I was like identifying myself as the gymnast. I'm like, oh, I'm a gymnast for a long time. I'm like, no, I'm Nia. Like, you know, I'm a person. So, you know, it's been a love-hate relationship with gymnastics, but I definitely have done my time. And I'm at peace with where I'm at and how my gymnastics career ended as well, which was back in April. It actually just ended. So it is a little fresh, bittersweet. But, you know, I'm at peace with where my gymnastics career ended, and I'm ready to move on and experience everything else that I'm interested in, which such as acting, dancing, modeling. But really dancing is like something I think I am passionate about. I'm always dancing in my free time. It's a way to express yourself, a way to communicate. And I have like this giant mirror in my room. So it's like a mini dance studio. So I'm always in here dancing. So I've learned so much in gymnastics about performance and dancing. And so and so many other tools like discipline and adaptability and things like that from gymnastics that I'm going to take with me into the real world and other things as I try other things.
This is so exciting. You just said like, bye for good.
Yeah, for good. And I mean, I'm scared of Simone's GOAT tour. I'm hoping to be on that tour. I'm just waiting to hear from producers. So hopefully if I get on that, then that would be more gymnastics that I would do. But aside from that, you know, I just said goodbye.
So, I mean, this is what I mean, oh my God, this is crazy timing.
Crazy.
Do you feel, I mean, can we go into this?
Yeah.
A little more? So, okay. So we're in June. So 3 months ago, you said goodbye for the thing that really has played a huge part in your identity for so long. And you don't have plans. I don't know how this works, but plans so there's this tour that you might do, but other than that, there's no plans to do any gymnastics, or will you still be, you know, on the side doing it kind of as a hobby here and there, going into the gym, or just you don't have any plans?
I mean, I like, even now I've been doing gymnastics in my apartment, like doing handstands, doing like a lot of things that I can do in the apartment that don't require too much.
Right.
That I notice myself doing in my free time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm over here missing it for real. But it felt good because my body has endured so many injuries physically, and my body needed a break, and it felt good to end on such a high. Like I challenged myself for my last competition, and it was something very difficult for me. Just kind of in general, it was a difficult skill. So I really challenged myself one last time. And
was it the double thing on the vault? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I actually haven't competed that skill since like 2015. And
wow.
Like I said, muscle memory, that come in clutch. But you know, you have to train it. I had to train it back, of course, leading up to nationals and everything. But I feel just so proud of myself for how I finished, and for what I was doing for my team, for my UCLA gymnastics team as well, and my sisters. Like it was more than just gymnastics when I ended. So I definitely felt so fulfilled in so many different ways that it wasn't that tough to say goodbye. But
wow. Well, because you mentioned missing it a little bit, but is it more missing, or is it more relief, or how would you describe what the experience is now with a little bit of with it a little bit behind you?
Yeah. It's still, I'm going to say it's still a bit of a mix of relief and missing it. I do miss it, and I do miss like being able to just go into the gym whenever I wanted and just whip around just cuts. I don't have that luxury of just going into the gym. So I do miss that, but I am still relieved that my body has been able to heal the way it should. And like my woman body's coming in, like puberty hit me so late because of gymnastics. because of gymnastics. So I'm finally growing and just like maturing physically. So I'm happy. I'm excited. Like there's a lot of change coming, but I'm really excited for it.
Wow, that's a great perspective.
Yeah, thank you.
Where does that come from? Were you raised well, or is it just natural to you? Or like, what's the deal?
Actually, I'm on a bit of a spiritual journey right now. So a lot of my focus has been on healing and, positive thinking just in general, because my gymnastics experience was not always positive. There was a lot of negative, and comes with negative thinking habits, and telling myself things that weren't true and really believing them. I really had to learn how to heal, and I took the time to, and that's why I'm at peace. Like, that's why I feel like I'm at peace with everything, because I've learned to give things closure and give things time that need their time. So the week after nationals, I was definitely soaking in the moment and soaking in my last competition. Maybe 2 weeks after, let's say 2 weeks, 2 weeks after the competition, really reminiscing on my entire gymnastics career for sure. And then kind of letting it go, but not letting it go. It's always going to be a part of me and made me me 100%. Sure. So I'm not letting it go. I'm always going to hold on to her, but moving her to the side a little bit, making some new.
It's compelling what you said, because I get that completely, of like the negative thought patterns. And I feel like I had a lot of that kind of instilled in me from a young age, and learning that wasn't a healthy way of thinking. When it was my way of thinking, I didn't know that there was another way of thinking, or that other way wasn't like fake or something. So kind of retraining my mind has been a very long process. Still something I work on daily, but it's really inspiring to hear you say it, and to know that you kind of relate with this in another field. What have you done to kind of retrain your mind, if you will, or like reframe your thinking?
Yeah. So journaling is something that I do a lot. Poetry here and there, but poetry is very difficult. I'm like, once I started writing poetry, I was like, oh my goodness, kudos to these poetry artists, because they're killing it. This is tough, but I journal a lot. I definitely feel like it's a great way to release everything that's taking up space in your mind, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I was writing down everything, negative, positive, indifferent, in between, everything, just to release it from taking up so much time and energy off of me, and get it out into the air and on paper. And that's even when I started playing around with manifestation and everything. I actually manifested going viral for my Beyonce floor routine the year before, and then it happened. So I was like, okay, so we're on the right track, Nia. You got to keep it up. But so journaling has been a huge tool for me to help heal, but also views. I like to go to views. I love just looking at skylines, cities, trees. I'm not really huge on nature, which is kind of a little bit ironic, but I'm out there. Like it gives me time to free my mind and just think about so many things. So going to views, taking that time for myself, and actually learning how to be alone, because there was a long period of time where I felt like I needed to be around people all the time, just to be like happy, be content, feel good, just to feel good. And I had to learn how to be alone and literally love myself, because we didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all been there.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we all been there big time where we truly just didn't love ourselves. And it's hard to admit, but because it almost sounds crazy to even say out loud, but yeah, it's like, oh, gosh, I don't love myself. Like, how do I not love myself? It was hard, and it was definitely a tough journey, but learning to love myself, starting with affirmations, telling myself little things every day, like looking in the mirror, you are beautiful, and actually believing the meaning behind my own words. But yeah.
You said that you're kind of interested in what was it? Acting, dancing,
modeling.
And modeling.
Yes.
Why those? What are you drawn to in those specific fields?
I love to perform, and I feel like acting, you're always performing. Modeling, it's performance as well, and dancing as well, all in 3 different ways. And I want to challenge myself in 3 different ways for sure. But dancing, I would say, is my passion and something that I truly, truly love to do and will never get tired of doing it because I feel like I'm always just expressing myself, moving, talking, communicating with myself. And I can do that by myself, like I can always dance by myself. I don't need anybody or anything. So that's why, drawn to dancing and performing. So yeah, modeling and acting.
I'm fascinated by people who love performing because I did not enjoy it and do not enjoy it. It made me so, I think I mentioned this earlier, but it made me so anxious.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like I'll get so stiff beforehand, and then I'm able to kind of like be loose once I do it. And I don't think I come off stiff, but it just feels like my mind kind of freezes and like I just feel so uncomfortable. So what is it about performing that you love, and what is it? Is it like connecting with people? Is it just feeling free? Like what is it specific to performing that you just
literally, you hit it right on the head, connecting with people. And I always loved growing up. I was like a little bit of a show off, and I loved to show off. I did. So when I was competing in my earlier years of gymnastics, that's kind of how my mindset was going into it. Like, it's a big show off. Like, I'm here to show everything. And essentially it's the same. But, when I came to college, my old coach, Miss Val, she told me, she was like, if you can see them, they can see you. And I was like, oh, so one, I realized that eyes were always on me. So I needed to make sure that I was always, in a way, presenting myself in a way that I wanted to be seen. So
what does she mean by that? What were you doing?
Oh, so I on the floor, like on the stage. So I was picking my wedgie, like playing with my leotard and stuff, like playing with my hair, picking my nose. Like who knows what I was doing? She was like, all I know is that she caught me and was like, "You need to stop. If I can see you, they can see you too." I'm like, okay, you're right. So that was one part, but also, she was a dancer as well. So she also taught me to connect with how to connect with the audience and with making eye contact. Because before, like when I was competing, I did my routines, but didn't ever make eye contact with anybody in the audience. I was just showing off and knew that I knew that they were watching, and I didn't feel like I needed to look at them to.
Eye contact is hard. I feel you. It is so difficult.
So hard.
You ever I feel like when I make eye contact with a person, I'm like picking up on so much.
I feel that. No, I feel that. Especially if it's like a bad vibe type of situation. Like not making eye contact. Like you cannot make eye contact. So Miss Val,
can't do this. Yeah.
No. So Miss Val, she actually taught me to make eye contact with the audience. And once I started doing that, I felt like I started looking at young girls, little girls, and who were looking up to me. And I was like, I know this is going to make their day. They're going to be like, oh my God, Nia Dennis with her routine. So honestly, it started with Miss Val and teaching me.
I got to talk to Miss Val. I got to get some tips.
She'll help you. She will.
Sounds great.
She's awesome.
So, okay. So you started with that.
Yeah. And learning how to connect with the audience is kind of what drew me into loving performing more, because like I said, I've always loved it, but didn't really just knew that. I think what I really loved was just showing off. But now that I've learned to connect and kind of take my showing off to the next level, I'm more intrigued. I'm more interested and want to continue to expand and progress and better myself.
Yeah. It totally comes through in your performances. You seem so connected.
Thank you. Oh my God.
And you mentioned also earlier that you have had a love-hate relationship with gymnastics.
Yeah.
Can you go into like the love and the hate?
Yes. Okay. So the love is feeling free and feeling like I'm flying every day, flipping around, trying things I've never done, defying gravity. The love is also wearing beautiful leotards every weekend and doing my face, feeling like a little girly girl for the weekends. And competing is the love. And then I'm going to put practice in a love-hate. And if this is a Venn diagram, this is in the middle.
Gotcha.
On the hate side is definitely practice, because not every day was good, and not every practice was like the last practice. Practice was increasingly always getting harder, always getting more difficult as I progressed and got better and got to the next level. So it was always a challenge. And I hate the injuries as well. I hate being injured so much. I hate how I have arthritis at 22. I hate, I'm like, I'm old. Like, I hate that you made me so old and I'm so young. So yeah, those are the love hates.
I feel it with acting. I feel like it made me so old emotionally when I was so young. I remember being 22 and just being like, why do I already feel over the hill? I'm 22 years old. I feel like what I imagine like a 67-year-old person feels, like just ready for retirement.
I'm ready. Retired. Ready. Been hard.
So besides the sort of, I guess, career elements, what other things do you hope for in your future? You mentioned you're on kind of the spiritual path.
Yeah.
Is that something that's important to you? Sounds
very
like
important.
it.
Yeah, very important. I hope to really discover my full self. I feel like I'm discovering bits and pieces more and more every day. And every time I, kind of attack it, but definitely becoming my fullest self is what I really want to do.
Do you think gymnastics helped you with coming into your fullest self, or do you think that in any way it stunted that?
I think it definitely helped me become into my fullest self.
That's amazing.
We were definitely forced to grow up pretty early at a young age, like training 40 hours a week at 8 years old. I'm maintaining a full-time job at 8 years old. So talk to me when no, I'm just kidding. But definitely feel like it's provided me. So like I mentioned earlier, like adaptability, a lot of life skills, discipline, things like that. So I feel like it's definitely prepared me into becoming my fullest self and has been a part of that process.
Tell me if you relate to this, because I feel I get the thing of like feeling so grown up at an early age, holding down a full-time job at 8. There are so many, pressures and expectations, and you've got this career and you are so grown up. My experience was that I was way grown up at a young age, but then I also feel like I missed out on the developmental, like the adolescent developmental years. Mm-hmm. So while I was kind of as an 8-year-old, a 30-year-old, I was like an 8-year-old, 30-year-old. Mm-hmm. Like I was still emotionally and mentally an 8-year-old. And then I didn't have the development of being 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So then I was at 22, I was like an 8-year-old, 30-year-old. And I'm like, oh, this is the weirdest. Plus feeling like a 67-year-old from being a So it was 8, 30, and 67, but I just kind of didn't have the 9 to 21 years. Does that make any sense? Am I just on another planet with that?
No, you definitely make sense. And I feel like, the development is kind of, that happens with friends and playing on the playground and just experiencing life things, like going through a best friend breakup, that developmental stage is definitely crucial, because then you learn, when you grow up, oh, I can see you're a fake person already, instead of waiting until they hurt you to find out that they're a fake person. So I definitely feel you 100%, because when like I said, learning social cues, it's still difficult for me to see fake through real, fake versus real, because I'm such a genuine person. I'm always genuine. Why wouldn't you be genuine? But not everybody thinks like me, and not everybody thinks the same. So I definitely feel like in that aspect, I missed out on that kind of development, social development, finding out the fakes, the snakes, because I experienced a lot of hurt, a lot of pain and things like that. But I learned, so I'm okay. I am okay. But
I feel that.
Yeah, definitely wishing that developmental stage was just a little more.
I love the wording spotting the snakes and the fakes.
Fakes.
That is a process. That is a long process. Do you have hobbies? Do you have other things that you like to spend time doing, or is that something you're kind of in the middle of figuring out?
A little bit of both. I'm in the middle of figuring it all out. Dancing is my biggest hobby right now.
Yeah.
But also I'm trying to get into skating, roller skating, because my mom never let me when I was a kid.
Fun.
She's like, you're going to get hurt. We can't mess up gymnastics. I just want to skate I just want to go skating, there's the developmental stage, I miss how to skate. So I'm definitely trying to, I want to be more adventurous and more spontaneous. I'm already pretty spontaneous, but I would like to be more adventurous in LA. I live in LA right now, and I'm going to stay here for another year at least. And like, because college, being a student athlete also was another full-time job. I didn't get to adventure out as much as I wanted to and see as many things that I would have liked to. So I definitely want to be more adventurous and just kind of, I feel like I will also learn a lot about myself in that process of adventuring. So I feel like more hobbies will come along from there as well.
For sure. Were you able to travel much for competitions and things? I imagine it was pretty constant.
Yeah, actually we traveled a lot and I've been a lot of places. So also love that about, let me add that to the love list of gymnastics. You get to travel. I've been out of the country at a young age. I've been to Italy, London, Canada, Bahamas, all of those for gymnastics, which is insane. So it was a business trip. So I wasn't able to tour as much as I wanted.
That's what I was going to say. But when you go for work, you don't get to see really anything.
Exactly. Business trips. But it was still an amazing opportunity to be able to be in Jesolo, Italy. When I was 14, I was like, this is crazy. I'm fun. Hey, Mom. I'm across the pond. Holler at me. I'm dead. But yeah. So yeah, love being able to travel.
And do you have certain there's not corny way of saying this, but like life mottos or any kind of rules you like to live by, or just, ways that little guideposts for your life? I feel like those can be so helpful.
Yeah. Honestly, my biggest thing is to remain authentically yourself, and to spread love, because there's not enough love in this world, and love wins. Love always wins. And love is the most powerful thing in this world. I truly believe. And, why would you want to spread hate? I don't want to spread hate. It's hurtful. It's painful. Like, why do you want to cause pain? I want to just love and uplift others around me in any way that I can, any way, shape, or form. I love helping people as well. So, just spreading love is just like a life motto, because we need more love. We do.
I love that you mentioned sort of being authentically yourself. That was actually initially when I was kind of thinking, well, what is the topic that makes the most sense? I was thinking authenticity. Like, obviously that just was the kind of the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
I do feel like that is, do you mind with our last few minutes here, if we kind of go a little bit more into authenticity?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. I feel like that's something that can be challenging for people who, especially, if anybody's listening and they might have certain expectations, whether they be from family or religion or occupation or just any sort of pressures and high standards and high expectations. I feel like that combination, that formula, makes it so much more difficult to find authenticity, because I think the whole process of finding authenticity comes from those formative years where you're able to stumble and fall and make mistakes and have heartbreaks and learn all these lessons that kind of build your character and make you into a person, where you don't really have that space or that room if you're if you have a different level of expectation on you and you have different commitments than other people your age. So for you and for let's go into you specifically first, but for you, what was that process like to becoming more authentic? And was it challenging? Was there a lot of self-doubt involved, or was it something that was just kind of more natural to you and that didn't really have many bumps in the road?
It was so challenging, so hard. For the longest time, I felt like I didn't know who I was, and I felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere. Like I mentioned earlier, gymnastics is a predominantly white sport. So I was pretty much the only Black girl in my groups all the time. And I was always feeling out of place. I can never relate to them in any way. Mm-hmm. They talked about my hair a lot. They talked about how the chalk showed up on my skin a lot. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's going to show up. Like, I see it on your skin as well, just not as vibrant, So there was definitely a period of me wishing I wasn't even Black, and doubting my skin color and doubting that was beautiful, because, also growing up, I heard, oh, you're pretty for a Black girl. It's like, what does that mean? Like, Black people are pretty. So then there was a lot of self-confidence issues as well during that process. And honestly, I feel like coming to college, coming to UCLA was the whole transitional period for me, authentically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I feel I've just been in the best environment to kind of progress and move forward. But I definitely had to kind of backtrack, and I had to start over, like start listening to music that I didn't listen to growing up because my mom didn't let me listen to it, or because of the area that we were in, because we were in the suburbs or whatever. And even like around my family, you know, my family members would be like, oh, you talk so white, or you sound white. So then I really felt like I didn't fit in to both worlds, because I'm like, my own family's telling me I'm too white, and then my white teammates are telling me I'm too black. Like, you know,
oh my God.
I felt so out of place for the longest time. So once I came to school, you know, I had to go back to my roots. And I started with music that I wasn't allowed to listen to because it was, you know, whatever the reason may be. And then once I started listening to that kind of music, then I started to, you know, feel like myself. That's when my dance started to kind of come out. I was like, oh, like I'm really lit. Like I have a lot of energy. Like I have a lot of energy. Like I'm an upbeat kind of person. So for me to be down and depressed all the time, that's not me. Like that's not who I am at all. So like I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I have to start with music and figuring out what I did like and what I didn't like, and things specifically things in Black culture that related to me. But have had an impact on me. I'm sorry, have had an impact on me rather than relate to me. But more had an impact on me because that's kind of shaped really who I am. For example, my dad is in a fraternity. So stepping is like really big in Black fraternities and sororities as well. So he was always, I'm a daddy's girl. He's stepping around the house. What are you doing? I need to make the beat too. Like, what is this? Like, I need to learn. Maybe that's where some of the dancing came from as well.
Yeah, right?
Maybe. But, you know, so that's really huge in Black culture. And to be in that environment is actually really, it's crazy. I went to like a majorette's. Sorry. I'm getting a little all over the place.
Oh, this is great. This is fantastic.
Environment, yeah. This Black fraternity environment is truly unlike anything you've ever witnessed or been a part of. So, you know, I was growing up going to like my dad's probates or like step battles and things like that. So it was true Black culture. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is like, I'm a part of this, you know? And like, I felt like a little out of place because I just felt like not really Black. Embarrassed to say still. And I felt like I wasn't Black, but I also felt like I did fit in. I was like, these are my people. This is my community. And like, this is what we do. Like, I was like, this is what we do. Like, we make beats. We're lit. Like, we love each other. We support each other. We have brotherhoods and sisterhoods. So yeah, I really had to get back to my roots, and it was so tough. And I struggled a lot, but I'm so glad we came out. I know who I am.
Well, that's impressive work. Like that's hard work. That's deep work. That's definitely, I feel like that's the hardest thing to do really in life, is to access that place of authenticity and be able to embrace it despite everything around you telling you otherwise, or kind of resisting you or whatever. Like that's challenging stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
What advice would you give to anybody who might be struggling with that themselves, who might, you know, feel like they know deep down they're not really acting authentically, they're not behaving authentically, maybe they're in kind of the wrong friend group, or they're in the wrong career, or they're just, things aren't quite lining up, and they have that feeling, but they don't know what to do. They don't know the steps to take to get on the path of authenticity. What would you suggest that they do?
I suggest taking time to yourself and becoming comfortable with being alone. Like I mentioned earlier, it was hard for me to be alone for a long time. So becoming comfortable with yourself and being alone is huge, because then you know like truly what you like and what you do not like. And also making a list of journaling some more about things that you do and do not like, and things that resonate with you, and things that you like to do truly. Because what you really like to do are things, once you make that list, you know, you can kind of see the plan, like you have a plan and know where to go from there. I feel like it's all kind of hard when it's all up here and just stuck circulating in your mind. So definitely getting it out onto paper to get started so you can make a plan.
I totally agree. I feel like writing something down makes it concrete. Yeah. And if it's upstairs in my mind, I just like jumbled. It feels a little chaotic. Putting it on paper.
Unorganized.
Yes. Yeah. Seeing it down on paper, it's like, peace. This is great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nia, thank you so much for coming on. This conversation has been really fulfilling, and I hope it's been the same for you.
Thank you so much. No, I've had a blast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Listen to my story a little bit.
Yeah. Good luck. I have high hopes for you and think whatever you choose to do kind of moving forward is going to be great. And I'll be watching and rooting you on.
Period. Thank you. I'm always rooting you on, girl. Big fan.
Thanks, baby. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.